Hello everyone and welcome to the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor, co-host of this educational cooking show. Today with me is Executive Chef Brian Miller of Hops and Scotch in Cambridge. So I brought Brian on with me to tell me about these delicious dishes in front of me, because if I try to describe them, I'll probably mess up. So Brian, tell us about this salad that's in front of us.
Salad is very simple. It's just marinated trebisano, which is a type of Italian chicory. It's a bitter green, so to balance the bitterness in the green, we have some gorgonzola dolce, very creamy.
I love gorgonzola, yep.
Some fresh shaved apples, and a Meyer lemon puree.
Oh, I can't wait to eat that. Now this is the dish you and Joe are going to demo, right?
Yep.
And this is scallops with?
Seared scallops with poached salsify. Salsify is a root vegetable.
Yes.
It's actually in the daisy family.
Oh.
Somewhat similar to a parsnip, but has its own unique kind of flavor. It's got some seared maitake mushrooms, brown butter, and parsley.
Oh, that sounds delicious, Brian. Excellent.
Thank you.
So everyone, we're gonna go over to the other part of the restaurant, and Brian and Joe are gonna teach us how to make this dish.
Hi, I'm Chef Joe Murphy. I am a co-founder of the Chef's Table Foundation. This show is aired on community access stations. Our mission as a nonprofit is to help and support homeless U.S. veterans. There are 1,000 homeless veterans in the state of Massachusetts, and there are 6,000 18-year-olds and younger in the state of Massachusetts. The state documented that in 2013. Bridge Over Troubled Waters, a nationally recognized nonprofit supporting homeless young people, told us it's probably 3 times that, because these kids go underground. So we feel a very strong urge to try to support them with a culinary school education. So the show is designed to be instructional and engaging. If you want to rewatch the show, if you go to chefstableseries.tv, you can rewatch the chef cook, and then you can cook along with him. So listen for the tips, listen for the instruction, and you'll have a better cooking experience at home. So today we're very pleased to be at Hops and Scotch in Cambridge. We have a terrific chef. Chef's worked at some tremendous restaurants, and it's Chef Brian Miller. So Chef, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. One of the things we always talk about is a French term, mise en place, and that means?
Everything in place.
Everything in place, right. So that when you're going to start cooking, believe me, if you enjoy cooking, but you never, it's always a challenge, mise en place. Remember that term. It means everything in its place. So, Chef, let's talk about your mise en place.
So the dish that I'm going to be preparing is a seared scallop with some maitake mushrooms, salsify, a little brown butter, wild rice, and parsley. A couple variations.
Excellent. So, can we talk about this just for a quick?
Yep. Yeah, salsify.
Yeah, that's
very
something.
Strange vegetable.
Right.
It's actually a root vegetable.
Okay.
It is in the daisy family, which is kind of strange.
Yeah.
But obviously, grown in the ground, root vegetable has kind of like broad leaves. Doesn't look like a daisy whatsoever.
Okay.
So don't go picking daisies and hope that you're going to pull out a root like that.
Right.
Similar in appearance once you peel it down. So it's very starchy and releases a lot of sticky kind of goo almost. Like if you pluck a flower, like a fresh young flower in the ground, pluck it, and it almost has like a milky kind of ooze coming out of it.
Okay.
Similar with this vegetable. But once it's all peeled down and poached, it kind of resembles a parsnip,
Excellent.
but doesn't quite have that sweet kind of woody, earthy flavor like a parsnip.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I wanted, Chef, to talk about this for a second, I've never seen this myself, and it is a root vegetable. So, having never seen it, but I don't think I've ever seen it in a supermarket.
Yeah,
So,
hard to get your hands on.
Yeah, right. So I asked Chef, what's a good substitute for the home chef? We talked about
Yep,
parsnips.
Yep.
Okay.
Also pairs very well with what we're cooking
Okay,
anyway,
great.
so easy substitute there.
Excellent. Okay, so let's get rolling here and tell me what you want to do first, just so we know.
Well, so we have a couple variations of different items. So we have the poached salsify. So this gets peeled down. It oxidizes very quickly. So if you do get salsify and peel it and leave it on the counter, it's going to be brown in a matter of minutes.
Okay.
Not very nice in appearance. I mean, it won't change the flavor.
Right, it's like a potato.
Yeah.
Similar.
Exactly. So if you hold it in acidulated water,
Right,
whether it be a little vinegar or lemon juice,
right.
something to keep
right.
the nice kind of milky, creamy color that it has.
Yeah, and I'd like to just make a point here. Chef just actually gave a great tip. If you can find this, like a potato, you want to get it in water, but he's recommending a little pH acid, vinegar, lemon juice until
Yep,
you're ready.
lemon juice ideally.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So that's a great tip with this type of a vegetable. And because, you know, a lot of eating is that first eye appeal. Again, it won't change the taste or the character, it just doesn't look good,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah, it'll go dark pretty quick.
Okay.
So this actually break into pieces, cut with a knife, and then we're going to poach it in some milk. So
sweet.
that's kind of the most timely item that we have going on right now. The mushrooms are quick, the scallops are quick.
Right.
So we have some prepared here,
Okay.
but we peel that down, put it in a pot, some milk, then we have some aromatics as well.
Yeah.
So we have thyme, which you can get anywhere.
Right.
We got some fresh bay leaves, which easily substituted with a dry bay leaf,
Right,
and some garlic cloves.
right.
So that goes in the pot.
Right.
Bring that to a boil, kind of let it simmer out until
Okay.
the salsify is nice and tender.
Right.
Might be a
Yeah.
couple minutes. This is a bigger one out of what I had come in from our purveyor. So that may take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But also another tip, cooking similar sized things together rather than having one that's
Too thick.
as thick
So
as this
cut
one
them down
compared to
to
one that's
size.
maybe as thin as the
Right.
bottom there.
So you're saying cut them down to equal
Yeah,
size portions
exactly.
for
Yeah.
cooking.
The bigger it is, the longer it's going to take to cook.
Right, right. And one thing I want to mention, I always ask the chefs, and Chef and I talked about this, he sources locally, which is great, right? And even his fish purveyor is from a small company, and they're day boat fishers,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Which means they're not out to the sea 5 or 6 days. They're going out, they're catching fresh fish, and you can't get it really any fresher than that, unless you have a fish farm, which I don't think anybody does. But anyways, having said that, to me that's a great sign in a restaurant. They source locally. So you know you're getting the fresh, really fresh product, but it's also you're supporting the economy in Massachusetts. So I commend you for that. Okay, so do you blanch those, or did you say?
They'll get brought up to a boil and then brought down to a simmer and then just simmered until they're tender all the way through.
Tender, okay.
Yep.
So again, fork tender?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so if you're using a parsnip, again, make sure the sizes are pretty equal in size that you put in your milk, and get fork tender.
Yep.
So similar as a potato. Okay. Now, I have one other question. You had, I wanted to ask you a question about your scallops.
Yep.
If you're going to a supermarket, there aren't that many fishmongers around. I mean, there certainly are. But if you go to a supermarket and you're buying scallops, keep one thing in mind, which is these are dry.
Yep. Yeah.
As opposed to wet scallops, okay? The preferred scallop is dry. Do you want to tell them what that means?
Yeah, so these are beautiful scallops that we got from Louis Seafood right here in Boston. Came in fresh today. Dry scallops refer to dry and wet are both in the same, that they're shucked right there on the boat. So they're dredged, brought up to the boat in a net, dumped out on the boat, shucked right there. Wet scallops are shucked and then held in water. So the water can preserve them for a little bit longer because the solidity that's already in the scallop kind of acts as like a brine almost, where these as dry scallops are just put into a container with no water, but still kind of uses its own kind of scallop milk as a brine, but it doesn't lose any flavor. So wet scallops kind of absorb the water that they're being held in. So they plump up, they may look a little bit bigger, but essentially when you're cooking them, they're not going to sear as nice. And because I had to just lose some of that water that they've gained, and the flavor is kind of leached out a little bit with the water. So
yeah, and you're not paying for total scallop. You're paying for a lot.
Yeah, you get a lot of extra weight.
Weight in there. So do not be afraid to ask your fish purveyor, are these dry or wet? Okay. I recommend dry myself.
Yeah,
and if they don't
definitely
have dry, I'll choose something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or diver.
Yeah.
There's diver scallops, which is just somebody going down and hand picking rather than dredging with a net or something from the bottom of the ocean.
Right. Okay.
But
so we're here poaching.
Yep.
Right. And what's next?
Well, from there, kind of skipped ahead. Magic of television.
Right.
We have some stuff prepared. So a couple variations of parsley. We have, I made a parsley puree.
Oh, nice.
Not something totally feasible to do in front of the crowd right here.
No, right.
But just a quick explanation, super simple. Just acts as a very kind of like flavorful, earthy sauce to balance between the sweetness or the creaminess of the salsify, earthiness of the mushroom, sweetness of the scallops. It's just parsley that's blanched, so meaning in a pot of boiling water, submerged until it's fully tender. Take it out, drain off as much of the water as you can, and then it just gets blended until it's very smooth. And then finish with a little butter to kind of act as an extra emulsification. So when it's cooled or held at room temperature, it's not totally liquid. It kind of holds up because the butter is kind of
firms back up a little bit.
It's the word that I don't know.
Yeah.
It's escaped me.
Right, that's okay. You know, now I want to ask you a question about this.
Solidify. That's what.
Yeah. Okay. Do you use this to decorate the plate, or do you mix this?
Well, it'll definitely add a nice little appearance on the plate. Because everything else is so kind of one-toned. Between the mushrooms aren't a very colorful mushroom. The salsify is white. Scallops are pretty
opaque,
whitish. But yeah, it'll kind of add a little life to the plate and give some color.
Right. And one thing I just want to suggest, where Chef said he added butter. Now, is that melted butter that you add?
No, I used whole butter.
Whole butter. And unsalted butter.
Yep.
Never use salted butter in your cooking. It's always better to season as you go along and get that TT, which you might see in a cookbook, which means to taste. And another thing butter will do, especially in gravies, sauces, and for decorating, it gives that extra sheen so that it doesn't look like it's been laying around since Smaller the elephant died, okay? So, anyways, what else we have here, Chef?
So I also have some brown butter. So this is just butter that was melted out, and with something that you can get in the grocery store, milk powder. So if you melt your butter in a pan, just to the point where it's not browning, but it's just fully melted out, by adding extra milk solids from the milk powder, is what you're doing. You give the butter more milk solids to brown.
Sweet.
So it's basically you add enough to where it becomes a thick paste.
Yeah.
And then cooking it down till it browns nicely. Then you can spread it out on a towel, drain out any extra oil or fat, and you get a nice kind of crumble. So I add a little bit as a textural element, but really gives you that brown buttery richness.
Oh, sounds great. Jeez, I love that technique. Chef is giving you a lot of great tips here, you know, talking about the brown butter and, you know, salsify.
Yep.
You know, we haven't seen that in the show. We haven't seen anybody talk about the brown butter. So these are all great, somewhat innovative ideas for the home cook.
Yeah, kind of wow your friends a little bit.
Exactly, and if you want to wow your friends, invite Chef and I over for a free meal, and we won't criticize you. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
And then one last thing that we have over here, also acting as a textural element, is wild rice. So it's just plain black wild rice.
Yeah.
You get a really hot pan, whatever your heaviest bottom saute pan may be. Get it as hot as you can stand in your house.
Yeah.
Oil, and then the rice right in there. As soon as the rice grains hit the oil, they kind of
Pop.
explode their germ and puff up.
Right.
So texturally, it's almost like a Rice Krispie.
Yeah.
But it has kind of like that earthy woodiness that a nice wild rice will have.
Yeah, we have Carol and I have a friend, he's a chef, but he's well, you, but his father is Chinese and his mother is Anglo-American. And one of his rices, which I never saw until I went to his restaurant, black rice. And it's basically the shell is still on it, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's what that was, a long grain black rice.
Yeah, and it does have that different, you get a different taste and you get a little bit different palate when you eat it, but it's delicious. So, enough about talking. Why don't we start cooking here, Chef?
Let's get these scallops going. So a key with scallops is just making sure that you have a really, really hot pan.
Right.
So the way I cook my scallops, I just sear hard on one side. So also, I mean, a huge thing about kind of a refined cuisine these days is texture.
Yeah.
I think I've said it about 1 billion times since I've been up here. But along with visual appearance, people eat, you know, sensationally. So having something that kind of balances between textures of soft and creamy and something rich, crunchy, is something that you definitely need on top of that, because you don't want one plain kind of monotone
And
feel.
Chef just gave you a great tip, actually, about when you saute your scallops. You want that little caramelization on one side. You don't want it black. You want that nice light golden brown. Is that what you're looking for?
I hope I produce.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I kind of golden brown sear on the one side, it adds a nice crispy kind of top. Okay. And then another thing, while I show you the scallops, about how they're feeling, because an overcooked scallop might be one of my least favorite things to eat.
Right.
Ever. It's just rubbery. It loses all its like nice creaminess and kind of sweetness to it.
I'm glad you said that, because I have a couple of friends, and I make scallops. Well, I stopped making them because they said, "Oh, these aren't cooked." Of course they're cooked. That's how they're supposed to be.
Yeah, they're used to.
But they want
fully
it
cooked. You almost want it like a nice medium rare.
Exactly, and they want it so that if they throw it against the wall, they can catch it coming back, okay? But, you know, everybody's different.
Yeah, so if you saw, there's a light smoke to the pan.
Right. Now you're using salt. What kind of salt is that?
We use Diamond Crystal kosher salt.
Right. Right.
Kind of a more coarse,
Right.
flaked salt.
Yeah, you know, back in the day, I was a marketing executive in the food brokerage business, and I actually managed that brand. And they wanted me, when I first began managing it, they wanted me to go to the salt mines. I think they're in Pennsylvania. And the guy told me, we'll go down 2,000 feet in an elevator. And he said, it really gets cool. We turn the lights off. And you would not believe how you feel when that happens because you're so far underground. And I said, well, good, let me know, take a picture, I'm not doing it. But what I want to point out, and Chef just talked about this, about a couple of things. Do not be afraid of a hot pan. Because a lot of times, especially in sauteing, you want caramelization, okay? Once it's in there, don't move them around, let them finish cooking. And besides that, we always talk about this, if you're cooking and you're really taking interest, table salt is not the best choice. Couple of reasons, and Chef just told you. The crystals are actually much larger, okay? And sea salt has the same characteristic. It's easier to control. When you take a pinch of salt, all right, you're not going to wind up over-salting and ruining the dish. So learn to use the bigger crystal salt, sea salt or kosher salt. And just quickly, if you had a cup of kosher salt and a cup of table salt, okay, because the crystal is so much larger on the sea salt and kosher salt, by volume, there's less sodium, okay, so you're not taking in as much sodium. And I can guarantee you the flavor profile for kosher salt and sea salt is much better than table salt. So that's just a little tip to keep in mind. Okay, Chef, sorry about that.
It's okay. I didn't know that.
You
Well,
didn't?
I mean, thinking about it makes sense.
Right.
Like a
I
super
actually
fine
looked it up
kind of
online.
iodized salt.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
good
so,
technique.
Yeah. Anyways,
All right, so you can see this pan is getting awfully hot. This is a black steel pan,
Yeah.
so they retain heat really well, so you probably not use any heat the rest of the way.
and Chef just gave you actually a great tip. A lot of times when I'm cooking, when you start getting a lot of smoking like this, you know that pan is super, super hot. Take it off the burner for a minute. Let the heat come down because the residual heat will continue cooking. That way you're not overcooking. Okay, Chef.
So I mean, at this point I would go in the oven just for a little bit, since I do only cook it on one side.
Yeah.
These are slightly on the smaller side, these scallops.
Yeah.
But just
Oh, that
so
looks
we can,
great. You will see.
we don't have an oven out here. I don't know
Right.
if you knew that.
You will see. Well, you're doing a great job without it, Chef. You will see in just a moment what we were talking about, this caramelization, and that's what you want. And frankly, if you're doing mushrooms, you want to look for the same thing. When I was in culinary school, a very well-known chef in Boston was the instructor for the day. And I took the mushrooms and trying to be cool. I'm trying to, get them flush. Well, what are you doing? Don't ever do that to a mushroom. You want to get them a little bit crispy because that'll, again, add caramelization, which is flavor, and you're going to get that extra crunch that Chef talked about, which is part of the eating experience. So that's great.
This is all residual heat
right.
still held in the pan from what we had going.
Yeah.
I just put the mushrooms in there totally plain. No salt or anything. Those mushrooms tend to be kind of like little sponges.
Yeah.
So if you salt them, they'll start to lose any liquid that they had, and they won't get it as
Right.
nice as this here. So when you're cooking mushrooms, it's best to have a really, really hot pan. Put them in, let them cook and sear first, because they won't start losing any moisture or liquid that they had
Excellent.
in
Yeah.
them, and
Great
then
tip.
season them at the end.
Right. And that is a great tip. And one thing that I guess if you haven't figured it out yet, I can be a little verbose, but we want you to gain as much knowledge as you can. What type of oil do you saute in? Canola?
Yeah, something very neutral.
Right.
If you want to spend a little extra money, grapeseed oil is a really good,
Right.
because it's completely bland. It has no extra flavor or anything
Yeah,
like that.
right.
It's just a very neutral kind of blank palette
Right.
to work with.
Yeah, and I've had other chefs say the same thing. And one thing I do want to mention to you, when you get into the EVOO, the olive oils, they have a very low heat tolerance. So you're going to get them smoking. While you get into the canola oils or the grapeseed oils, they have a higher tolerance to heat. So those are your better choices. And I like that he said, season these after you're done. And another thing I want to share with you that I've learned from another great chef besides Brian, always saute your mushrooms in this type of an oil. And a lot of people think because, oh, butter, use the butter. The problem with that is, as they're cooking, the butter is going to brown and then burn. So save that for your finishing, okay? Turn it off, and then the residual heat, it'll melt quickly. You can mix your mushrooms in it, and you're going to have a great finished dish, okay? So saute in an oil, and then finish with butter.
Yeah.
Does that
So
sound good to you, Chef?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great.
The more butter, the better. If you really want to cook like a restaurant,
Right.
use a stupid amount of butter.
Yeah. And you know, that's actually a great tip, and I always point this out when that thought comes up. It's not like you're eating this every day. So if
It's a treat.
It's a treat. And if you have some guests, and we have a lot of beautiful ladies in here today, and you've got your new boyfriend over and you want to wow him, fatten him up a little bit, okay? Do not be afraid of that, right? Okay. Butter is good.
So my favorite part, I think we're ready for now, is plating.
Right.
So this is kind of, should I move this out of the way?
Sure.
Sure.
Hey, we can move it over here, Chef.
Just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, if you really want to feel like you're at a restaurant, I think plating is kind of like one of those things that will set a home cook apart from a restaurant.
Right.
It's because, I mean, it takes somewhat of a artistic eye to kind of figure out utilizing negative space on the plate. So nowadays you've seen a lot of chefs kind of use all the way to the edge, kind of leave a lot of blank space.
Right.
They're really using the plate as a canvas more than
Exactly.
just a
Yeah,
vessel.
and cooking is really an artistic form. So if you have that type of a personality where you like the creative, this is the most rewarding form of art that, as far as I'm concerned. And the reason is you cook it and you finish with it, you know what I mean? And then you can eat it. So you not only enjoy the artistic aspect, but the eating aspect. Okay, Chef.
So if you can see here, I put the scallops on a little paper towel.
Mm-hmm.
Not only to get any excess oil or anything that might have been on top, but as they sit, they'll kind of, almost like a steak, bleed out a little bit.
Right.
Obviously, it's not red blood, but they do kind of lose a little bit of liquid, so it's best to kind of give them a little pat before they hit the plate. Otherwise, you'll kind of see like a little liquid running off. You may not know where it's coming from. But
Yeah, and that's a great tip.
all right, so like I said, with the salsify, we have a couple different variations. So there's the salsify that we poached. You want to go above and beyond. Something that you would find in a restaurant more than at home is purees.
Right,
I love purees.
right.
I think for the menu, we'll probably have like 10 different purees.
Right.
But it's just another way to kind of like involve an ingredient in more than one technique or variation.
Yeah, which
And
is
again,
great.
adding
Yeah.
almost like another sauce on top of
Yeah.
the parsley or whatever else you might be
And
using.
you know, I'm sure everybody here has been to a lot of nice restaurants, and you will see these I don't know how you're going to do this, but if they take a spoon and then they do
We can do that, sure.
a swirl, and then you can take that scallop, and it's almost like, as you said, a sauce. You can dip into it. You're getting the integration of flavors, and so. All right,
I was just
Chef.
going to use a palette, but
You're the chef, not me.
all right, cool. We'll do it my way.
Good.
So puree goes down. Still good. So this is just an offset spatula.
Yeah.
You get it at any cooking store. I probably have a billion different tools.
Sure.
So again, another thing that you can
Right.
get, whether it be just for home use or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have one for flipping my scallops, one for purees. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I go a little crazy with my tools.
Yeah, if you came into my house, you'd say, "This is like I had an automatic Hobart slicer, the big one, in my kitchen." And people say, "Why is that here?" It's there because when I need it, and that's what my house looks like. I mean, it drives people crazy, but I just enjoy it, and I want the right tools. And when I die, let my kids worry about how they're going to get rid of all this stuff.
All right, so next I always try to work around the proteins. So I put my scallops down, and if you want to be really like le professional, you use your spoon.
Mm-hmm.
These look perfectly cooked.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll put the mushrooms down, throw a salsify in there. So on the side, I didn't say, but I had brown butter.
Right.
That's what this is. It's just brown butter that has been strained, put into the squeeze bottle to kind of act as almost a dressing.
Oh, nice.
So I dressed the salsify after it was poached and drained with a little brown butter and chopped herbs. So there's parsley, which is one of the main components of the dish. Some thyme, which we poached the salsify in.
Yeah.
And chives, just because I love chives.
You love chives.
All right. So put the mushrooms on there. Then we got the brown butter crumble.
Oh, boy.
My microphone's getting away from me.
All right.
So this, like I said, is just gonna kind of act as a textural component. A little bit of flavor added. And then the wild rice. Again, not a major component, but just something to kind of give the entire dish a little bit extra complexity.
Wow.
Then we got some parsley just to garnish. And the parsley puree.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Chef, I'll tell you, we've done well over 100 1-hour shows, and I'm not exaggerating. We do all levels of cooking on the show. We shot a tailgate party show with pulled pork and a 2.5-foot long sub sandwich, chicken wings. And, you know, we've actually even done Ethiopian. We've done Scottish pub, if you can believe that. There's probably one here and one in Edinburgh, Scotland, but we happen to have one in Jamaica Plain. So the point I want to make is this is an exceptional presentation,
Thank you.
and the level is extraordinary. So we're really thrilled to have you here. And I haven't been here to eat prior to you starting, which was today's your first day.
First day, yeah.
I can guarantee you, with no deference to it, the people that were cooking here, this is 4 or 5-star rating. I mean, it's
Cool.
It's
Thank you.
really great.
Can you write that down somewhere?
Absolutely. Listen, it's on the video. It's etched in stone. You have my word. Okay. Well, Chef, this has been great, and you know, I'd love to shoot you again sometime.
With the camera?
With a camera. With a camera. So, anyways, I want to thank Hops and Scotch. They're supporting our foundation by allowing us here. We have a great audience tonight, which we love to have at the show, and just fantastic meal. And you know, everything the way Chef put it together is an advanced level, obviously. But I think his presentation, this can be an intermediate level, okay? If you just follow the chef's tips, sear those scallops, sear those mushrooms, and use any kind, you know, again, we talk about creativity, use the mushrooms you like, okay? If you can't find salsify,
Close.
use a parsnip. If you don't like parsnips,
Use a carrot.
use a carrot. If you don't like the carrot and you're angry at your husband, cut the end off your golf club and just make it look like, and then he'll be pretending he's eating something and chewing on that leather or rubber handle, right? So, anyways.
Well, that's if you overcook the scallops.
There you go. Right. Yeah. Tease him with the scallops, and then when he gets to the other, ooh, honey, this is terrific. But anyways, again, on behalf of the Chef's Table series, we'd love you to rewatch the show. And again, go to chefstableseries.tv. And I want to thank our crew, and again, the guests, and also the management here at Hops and Scotch in Cambridge. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's craft beer pairing. I'm Carol O'Connor. I am here with Kelsey Roth. He is a certified cicerone and the brand manager of Craft Beer Cellar. Today, Chef Brian Miller of Hops and Scotch in Cambridge made sauteed scallops served with salsify and wild rice and mushrooms, right?
Yep.
What's salsify? It's like a verb.
It's like something you do. But no, it's a root vegetable. It's kind of like a parsnip. But I had to kind of look that up too because I wasn't sure. It's certainly not one we see a lot of.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure it's healthy for you.
Probably is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what beer did you choose for that dish?
So I was kind of inspired by the salsify to kind of find some similar flavor notes to go with that, and I picked this beer from Belgium. It's Poperings Hommel beer, and
good job pronouncing that.
Yeah, but this is so Poppering is a region in Belgium that it's the hops growing region, and Hommel is a slang term in Belgium for hops. So it's basically it's a hop beer from the hop growing region.
Oh, clever.
So it uses all locally grown Belgian hops, and Belgian hops is kind of different from American hops in that they tend to have a little bit more of a grassy herbal character to them, and that's really going to come through and kind of really match the earthy flavors of the salsify and the wild mushroom, the mushrooms with wild rice.
Right. Oh, let's try it. So what flavors will I taste?
So you are going to taste a little bit of citrus, a little bit of kind of herbal character, maybe like a little bit of grassiness. But the beer
color.
Also, this one is a little bit higher in alcohol, so you're also going to get some sweetness to it too. But this really light body, you can see how carbonated the head is. That's going to the lightness of this beer is going to not overpower the scallops. There's a lot of complexity going on there.
It is. Tasty.
Yeah, and it's also fairly dry, but you get a little citrus up front, little maybe like flower notes, and then I get kind of like an herbal, almost like an herbal tea note to it as well that kind of finishes a little bit sweet.
I like it.
Yeah, this is, we always say in the food pairing
Yep.
world, when in doubt, go Belgian.
Oh, really? I
'cause-
want to use that phrase. That's a good idea.
Belgian beers, just kind of across the board, are just great food beers. They have such a great food culture and beer culture there that you can almost never go wrong. But this one in particular, I think, is going to go really, really nicely with with that dish.
Yeah, because it's not too heavy. And because scallops, the way he prepared it, it's sautéed with like minimal ingredients. So, yeah.
Yeah, delicate flavors in the food,
Yes.
delicate flavors in the beer.
Yes.
I think it's going to be a great pairing.
You did great. You always
Thank
pick these great beers that I love. And usually I don't like beer, but I think I might become a beer lover soon.
We're working on you.
Yeah, I know you are. Cool. So everyone, this has been the craft beer pairing for Chef Brian Miller's sautéed scallops. And I'm Carol O'Connor.
And I'm Kelsey Roth with Craft Beer Cellar. We're a proud supporter of the Chef's Table Foundation.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the coffee segment on the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor, and we are here at Recreo Coffee and Roastery in West Roxbury. And I am here with owners Hector and Miriam Morales, and we're going to talk about beans. I didn't know there's so many different beans, and they're all different blends, different shades of them.
Yeah, well, these are actually roasted. And so they're not blends because remember they're single origin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So you learn everything.
Yeah. But this is the different roast that we do here at Recreo. We start with the green bean that you saw with our roasting. And it always starts green like this. This is what we bring from the farm. They're hard and they're smaller. As we roast them, we roast in 3 different roasts. We roast a light roast, a medium roast, and a bold roast. And as you can tell, the different shades, there are different temperatures that go into there and different timing that go into that. And the last one we have here is our decaffeinated. And one thing we do here at Recreo is we don't do that traditional decaffeination, which is through a bleach to take out the caffeine. We send it to Swiss Water Company in Canada. And what they do with the Swiss water is they decaffeinate the coffee with water only. So there's no chemicals added. They put them in big pools of water for 12 hours and they extract the caffeine through that filtration. But so you can tell we roast our decaffeinated in a bold roast. But you can see the different shades.
Yes.
I don't know if you know, but the lighter the coffee, the more caffeine it has.
I didn't know that.
And a lot of people
Oh
think,
my
this
goodness.
is a strong coffee, it's bold, so it must have a lot of caffeine. It's the other way around.
Always
Our
thought
lighter, this one is a lot more oily in the coffee because it roasted longer.
Okay.
And so more caffeine comes out of those beans as they being roasted.
Wow.
And so here we go. This is the 3 roasts that we offer here at Recreo.
And this is a bolder taste,
the
though.
bold taste.
Yet the light roast has more caffeine.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So wow.
The thing is that as you roast,
Yes.
the bold roast is at a higher temperature for a longer time. So all the heat goes to the core of the bean, and it cracks the core. So the oils of the bean and the caffeine flushes away a little. So that's why it has less caffeine than the light.
That is.
But the flavor is stronger. It's a strong flavor.
Right.
And because we're single origin, it's a bold roast. It's very smooth, very mellow when it's finished. That's a characteristic of single origin coffees.
Oh, so the guys, Hector, I'm going to have to try the bold. I'm
So
always
Carol,
going.
go for the bold.
I'm going to have to go for the bold. Thank you for that. I'm going to try that the next time, definitely. So everyone, this has been the coffee segment on the Chef's Table series with Recreo's owners Miriam and Hector Morales. Hello everyone, and welcome to the restaurant interview segment of the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor, co-host. I am here at Hops and Scotch in Cambridge, and with me is manager Justin. So Justin, thank you so much for having us
thank you for
here at this beautiful restaurant. So Justin, tell me about the restaurant. How did the name come up, Hops and Scotch?
So Hops and Scotch is a play on words. We have 40 different craft beer handles on tap, and then we have over 100 different bottles of blended scotches and bourbons and whiskeys. So therefore, we could put them together and came up with Hops and Scotch.
Oh, I love it. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I like that.
absolutely.
Now tell me about the decor and the ambiance and the vibe here.
Absolutely. So here at Hops and Scotch, we definitely have a nice homey vibe here. We keep the lights dim low, candles on the tables, with some fun music that you can listen to.
Girls love that.
Oh yeah.
The flowers,
the candles. Yeah,
One more.
and absolutely, we're inexpensive, and people like the vibe here that we have here. The music comes a long way with it. Just with good scotches and bourbon, and nobody can really complain.
It's a beautiful bar.
Yeah, it's a great open bar concept.
Yeah,
absolutely,
I
it's
like
very
it.
inviting.
So Justin, tell me about the food that you have here.
Absolutely. So Chef Brian comes from a French and Italian cuisine background, but he'll be putting into a small plates menu. So you'll have a few different options as far as hot, cold bites, along with large plate concepts as well.
Cool.
So there'll be a lot of variety in the dishes that we carry.
So are we looking at like meats and fishes and?
Absolutely, you'll have everything from seafood to farmlands and pasta dishes to go along with that.
Cool.
Yeah, so it'll be a great variety of dishes we'll have.
Now you're open every day, correct?
Yeah, Monday through Monday, and it's from 5 to 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. Sorry.
And now Joe and our videographer Rock came here on Saturday and said the brunch looked excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Our brunch crowd's awesome. Usually have Frank Sinatra playing over those speakers. Yeah, mimosas and brunch flights we carry, and the food's great. People really like it.
Awesome. So tell me what's in front of us. These drinks.
So right here, so you have a Bowser's Castle. It's a blended Scotch drink with nutmeg, cinnamon, and orange bitters.
Ooh.
And it's really, really delightful. And then I have a Hops Manhattan, which is our own infusion of a Manhattan.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. It's delicious from our new cocktail menu that we just put out last week, and people really, really love them.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Should we try it?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's do a cheers, because you did such a great job.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming in
Thank you.
to Chef's Table.
Woo! That's tasty.
That'll warm me up a little bit.
Oh my goodness, yes, definitely. But Justin, thank you so much for being on
Absolutely.
this interview with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So everyone, this has been the restaurant interview segment of the Chef's Table series. I'm Carol O'Connor at Hops and Scotch in Cambridge with the manager, Justin. And we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Hi folks, Steve LeCount, chef owner of Chiara Bistro in Westwood, coming at you with this week's Chef's Tip. This week I'd like to talk a little bit about knife safety and cutting safety, and that's why I have a carrot and a parsnip in front of me. Basically, I'm going to peel this really quickly and then show you a few different cuts and how you can do them in a safe manner. And the reason I picked both of these vegetables is because of their shape. And most home cooks who don't have professional knife skills, when they do cut their finger, it's usually slicing a round vegetable of some sort, like a carrot or a parsnip, which makes sense. I mean, they roll around on the cutting board, and next thing you know, your knife is not on the carrot, it's on your finger. So we'll just put that aside a little bit. I'm using a typical French knife here for this. Important to have a very sharp knife when you're doing a firm vegetable like that. So I want to cut the ends off of these, and then we'll show you a few different cuts. And I'm going to start with, now, to eliminate most of the danger, one of the best things you can do is just take a little slice off of that. Now you've got a flat surface to rest that on. So if you want carrot wheels for something, you know, you've got
a little bit of leverage there instead of that thing rolling around on you. If I want to cut carrot sticks, I still have that leverage because it's flat, and I can do things like that and then just pile them on top of each other and cut my carrot sticks. Let's say I want to finely dice that for some reason. I'm going to do the same thing. Take a little piece off. Let that flat side. I'm just going to cut these thinner now. And then stack a couple of them together. And notice the motion. I'm not cutting down like this, which I see a lot of home cooks doing. It's actually a rocking motion. I'm starting at the front part of this knife and I'm pushing forward like that. Okay? As I'm doing, I'm tucking these 4 fingers, bending them so my knuckles are resting against the blade of that knife. And that's what's keeping me from cutting the tips of my left fingers off. So once I have them finely diced like that, I just turn that sideways, and now I'll go a little bit faster, and you can still see that rocking motion. Again, I'm not doing this, I'm pushing forward, and then I'm moving the knife sideways and doing it again, sideways, doing it again. And it's that easy to dice things that small. And let me just get these shavings out of the way. And I'm going to show you a bias cut next. Again, we have the carrot sticks, a couple of rounds, the fine dice, and I'll take this parsnip. We'll do a bias cut. So I'm going to notice I'm just putting that. I'm using that tip of that knife right there. You should be able to see that pretty well. And I'm just pushing down and then pushing down, and that's my nice flat surface. And I'm going to angle cut this, okay, into pieces like that, a nice bias cut. This looks nice in stews and, you know, maybe with a roast chicken or something like that. But again, using that same, I just have to pick the knife up a little higher because of the height of the parsnip itself, but I'm still using that same rocking motion all the way through to the end of this. So there you go. Nice, lots of shapes, all of it done very quickly, but most importantly, very safely, and all my fingers are intact. Steve LeCount with this week's Chef's Tip of the Week.
Just in
Perfect timing,
time. Look,
yeah.
Hard and small. Then we go to the light roast, then the medium roast.
Type of Italian chicory. It's a bitter green, so to balance the bitterness in the green, we have some gorgonzola.
He'll be pretending he's eating something and chewing on that leather.
Sharing, so I'm going to rely on
You
you.
notice that, huh?
Yeah.